So my name is Grace Garrett. I am the chair of voter services for the League of Women Voters, and it is an honor to have you here. This evening is all about getting to learning about our candidates for the BV to become trustee for our wonderful town of Buena Vista. I'm going to be the moderator. This evening's program is being sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Chaffee County. For 50 years, we have brought informational programming to this community of Chaffee County. In case you don't know, we are a non-partisan and non-political organization, which means we do not endorse a party. We do advocate. So if you want to know about what that means, there's some brochures on that back table so you can learn a little bit more. We ask that you turn off your cell phones and your electronic devices. We are going to be recording this event. The video will be posted on our website, the Chaffee County, the League of Women Voters Chaffee County. The videos are copyrighted and unauthorized recordings are prohibited. You will be flogged. Please contact us for permission to use any or all portions of this copyrighted recordings. And if you feel for some reason that you cannot adhere to that, Margie Gray, right there, see Margie, and she will personally flog you. All right. So if you will all stand, and we will together say the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is in this corner back over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about this evening. This is meant to be fast-paced. So if you intend or have the hope that every question that you might have is going to be answered, I would just encourage you to reset that right now. On your tables, there are index cards if you want to write questions out that you want to ask the candidates when they get to your table. So we're going to start with the candidates doing introductions. Then I, as moderator, will ask a lightning round of questions. Then each of the media outlets, we have 3 media outlets here, they will ask a question. And then you will move to candidating. If you haven't experienced candidating before, think of speed dating. And I'll explain more about what that means. What's dating? All right. Then we will have one wrap-up question, and then we will close the formal part of the evening, and the candidates have graciously offered to stay for 30 minutes beyond our time, so you can ask them any additional questions. All right, so we'll start with introductions, and so I believe that Maggie got here first. So Maggie gets to introduce herself. You each have 90 seconds, okay? So ready, set. So Mary Jo and Mary Helen, raise your hands. These are our timers. They will let you know, obviously, when to stop, but they will let you know at 30 seconds. Okay? Ready, set, go. Yes, and stand.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, everybody. I'm Maggie Huyck. Thanks so much for coming out tonight. I was lucky enough to move back to Buena Vista in May of 2022. I did live here 2008, 9, and 10, and it's been wild to see it change and grow and become what it is today. I decided to run for trustee when I moved back because I just really love this community and want to do what I can, and I'm able. So I wanted to be able to do that. I've been volunteering with various organizations in the community for the last year and a half and want to continue to do so. I see a lot of really familiar and friendly faces tonight, and I'm really excited to meet those of you that I haven't yet met. I'm paranoid of getting the 30 seconds, so I don't think I've utilized time well, but I'm looking forward to getting to know all of you a little bit more.
Wow. Good job. Yep.
Good evening. Thank you for all coming. My name's Thomas Brown.
Could you hold the mic to your mouth, please?
Could I what?
Just hold it close.
Closer. Okay, good. I'm a fifth-generation Coloradan. I was educated in Colorado schools. I'm an Army veteran, former combat engineer. I was an intelligence officer for 30 years with the Defense Intelligence Agency, where I led a multi-agency disciplined group to support hostages and prisoners of war. I've been a former business owner, and I'm your Planning and Zoning Commissioner. As trustee, I pledge that I'll always look and perceive and pursue efficient use of your taxpayer dollars, be accountable to the electorate, look at environmental, water, sustainability, and modernized infrastructure. We got to move to affordable housing and accessible affordable housing and increased business opportunities. Buena Vista is special. That's why we're all here. And the Board of Trustees should always promote intelligent, smart government solutions for the health, welfare, and benefit of the citizens of Buena Vista. Thank you.
Yeah.
Who's third?
Micah. Micha.
Okay, let me know when you're ready with the timer. Great. Hi, everybody. My name is Micha Rosenoer. Everybody calls me Mika. It'll be Mika on the ballot. It's a little confusing. I live in BV with my husband and son. We've been here full-time since January 2021, but I started working in BV for Conservation Colorado on the campaign to protect Browns Canyon as a national monument back in 2014. So I've been coming down for a decade. I'm excited to run for trustee because there's not a lot of people who like land use policy, let alone know a lot about it. And I've spent 13 years working on land use and development policy across Colorado and in rural communities. I was the BV rep on the Chaffee Housing Authority. I was a founding member of the Durango Community Housing Council. And it's a really big and important value to me to make sure that rural economic development syncs up with the vision we have for the community as it grows, and that we're protecting our agricultural resources, our conservation resources at the same time, while thinking about how growth fits in with the lives and welfare of working families and small businesses. I think those are really my priorities. We don't have any parents of young children on the trustees board right now. I think that's important, given how much our community depends on childcare and people staying in this town to help build our year-round economy. And that's important to me. And I was an elected city councilor in Edgewater, Colorado, near Lakewood during COVID. So learned a lot about how to run a city, how to manage budget, how to apply for grants. So I'm just excited about being able to use that experience and those skills here in Buena Vista. So thank you for having me.
Andrew. Oh. The I stands for that they're incumbent, so you did pick that up.
Hi, I've lived in BV for almost 9 years. I have a degree in social work. I've been a trustee for a total of 5.5 years. I was appointed for 18 months in 2016, and I've been on the board since April of 2020. I've been part of a lot of large changes and developments here while my tenure on the board, some of which are the Collegiate Commons apartments, the farm. We're breaking ground soon on the Carbonate Street development, and we've also purchased water for the first time since the 80s. Some of my hobbies are I play trombone in the Alpine Orchestra. I love live music and doing things outdoors. The reason I'm running again is I feel like I represent the working people here in BV. I work in the services industry, and I rent, and I know firsthand how hard it is to live here. So that's a little bit about me.
I'm Andrew Rice, and my wife and I moved to Chaffee County about 15 years ago from the Front Range. And I've worked several jobs as a civil engineer. That's my background is in water treatment, not necessarily in water rights, but definitely in the water treatment, the discipline that makes sure that the water you drink is safe. So that's my expertise as a civil engineer. I was appointed to serve on our town's water advisory board when it was founded years ago. So for many years, I've been on our water advisory board. And this last summer, when there was a vacancy on the board of trustees, I threw my name in the hat, and just with the idea that, hey, if the board felt like the perspective of a civil engineer would be useful on the board, I'd be willing to serve. And I think I found that just I look at things a little differently as an engineer. I don't necessarily have all the answers, but I feel like I definitely have a lot of questions. So I feel like my background as a civil engineer can be, might perhaps be useful to our board as we navigate a season of growth pressure here in Buena Vista.
All right. So thanks for having us and organizing all this. My name's Andy Matkovich. I grew up in southern Iowa. My father was a farmer and a teacher. My mother was an entrepreneur, started in housing development and housing management. My parents didn't really know what age labor laws were, so I kind of grew up on a tractor and working in real estate. Before moving to Chicago, I received a degree from the University of Iowa with a BFA. In Chicago, I was an art director for mortgage companies, real estate companies, and banking and finance before moving specifically into tech and product management, digital product management specifically, and then moved to the public sector. For the last 10 years, I've been the director of product management at the American Medical Association, where I have to analyze problems, listen to stakeholders, and try and get as much knowledge as possible before coming to a potential solution. My wife and I moved here 4 years ago, and we instantly fell in love with this place, and we knew we wanted to live here the rest of our life. And the reason I'm here right now is because I want to do whatever I can to be a service to the community that I love.
All right, so now we're going to move into our lightning round. So this first question is for Andrew and Devin. Are you ready? If you had a do-over on any vote from your time as town trustee, what would it be and why?
The trustees voted to put our April election on the ballot for November, and it was just that the vote was not to do it. The vote was to put it on the ballot for the electorate to decide. At that time, I voted for us to put it on the ballot. I still think that's the right decision to have it on the ballot. But at the time when I first looked at it, I thought, the arguments for it are we have a lot of, we can get some cost savings by commingling or conjoining our election with the county. We can have a little bit better voter turnout and a lot less hassle for town employees. But as I thought about it and visiting with people about why I'm running, I thought, man, it is really nice to not be a part of the food fight that'll happen in November. It's just not on the radar. We can talk about local issues, and that just does not concern me. And I feel like our town is a nonpartisan board. Our elections are nonpartisan. There's a nonpartisan DNA to our town government. And I'm afraid if we move our election to November and we become part of that atmosphere, that will seep into some of our culture. And I really value our nonpartisan culture. And so my opinion, if I had to vote over again, I would have expressed those opinions at the time of that vote.
You mean change my previous vote, or do you mean more of changing a decision?
Changing a vote from yes to no, or it could have been asking more questions, or it could be you wish that you had advocated for something different.
I guess the only thing I can think of, I do really feel like I vote with my conscience and what I feel in my heart is right, and I think over the years, I have strived to continue to do that. The only vote that I have really struggled with over the years was the Stackhouse annexation, which was up west of town. It was an annexation into town. and it failed, and I was really upset by that because I really felt the developer was bringing a lot of affordable housing to town, and I felt like those kind of things don't happen very often. So that would probably be the only thing that I would want to look at again and do over. But I think it's important to always move forward, regardless of the vote. Move forward with the board.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you both. Reason I asked that question is it's important that we are a learning community. And I think what they've just demonstrated is they fit right in terms of us learning and growing. Okay, so now for the new candidates, this is going to be a show of hands. So yes, no, okay? So there are about 49 days before you take your seat as trustee if you are elected. By show of hands, and by the way, we don't want you to start to ramp up in those 49 days, right? We want you to step in fully prepared as much as possible. So by show of hands, what steps have you taken to step into the role? How many of you have met with LWV, our mayor? How many have you met with other trustees to learn about the job? How many of you have read code, the town plans? Good. How many of you have attended a live trustee meeting? Live? How many of you have requested packets and reviewed them beforehand? And if you weren't able to attend the meetings, have you watched after? Nice. Okay, so now we're going to go reverse order. So Andy, you'll be first. What personal attribute do you bring to the board that sets you apart from any other trustee candidate running? Which one and why?
Well, I spent the last 30 years dealing in technology and technology development, where I go into businesses or analyze teams and listen to their problems, interview stakeholders, talk to subject matter experts, and take the more qualified opinions of my team members and associates more heavily than my own thoughts. But my job as the product manager, as the director of product management, is to take in all that stuff and try to make a decision to move a direction and quantify those, what I expect those outcomes to be. And I think that would serve well on the board, where listening to everyone's opinions, both from the community and my fellow board members, and then trying to make a decision based on that.
Okay, so I have 13 years of experience in state, national, and federal advocacy policy, primarily focused on land use and conservation issues. Right now, I'm the head of government affairs for a tech company that works in outdoor recreation. So I work with governments all over the world on issues that we're facing here in BV. So I think having experience and an understanding of how other communities have dealt with the issues we're facing here means that we can learn from others' mistakes and choices and not have to recreate the wheel here on every choice that we make. So I think that kind of context, that professional experience, and those relationships in public policy lend me the ability and the experience to be able to say, hey, I think these people already did this. Why don't we ask them how that went? And I think that experience is really important. So, thank you.
Oh, wait. Yeah, sorry. I just realized it will go faster if I,
This is for all 6 of us then?
yes.
Oh, yeah. I just think my background, 25 years as a civil engineer focusing on water treatment is, I think that's, I don't have, that's my background, and I feel like that expertise is valuable. I feel like that's different. That's something different I can bring to the table.
Okay. Devin?
I have 5.5 years experience on the board, but I also have a real good pulse of what's happening in town. Being on the service industry, I work in a restaurant here in town. I know the struggles and hardships that people have who work and support this town, you know, and I'm not immune to that. I rent, and my beautiful girlfriend, she rents too, and we would really like to live together, but that makes it really hard because financially I can't find a place right now for us that we can both afford. So, you know, I feel a lot of those things, and I hear a lot of people who move away and because they can't make it here anymore. So I really feel I have that perspective to really help and listen to people.
As a too close. As a retired intelligence officer, manager, leader of an intelligence unit and organization, I had to excel in research and analysis. And the Board of Trustees have a very complex and very difficult job. They receive a lot of information that comes at them very, very quickly from a variety of sources. They've got an excellent town staff that provides that support, but it's a tough decision to make these calls, and none of them are ever straightforward. And I bring a unique set of analytic skills, research skills, as well as an understanding of how to break those challenges and problems down into more manageable pieces so that we can make, as a community, as a group, as the board comes to a decision, make more informed decisions to accomplish the task and meet the goals and the needs of the citizens of Buena Vista.
I would say one of the attributes that I would bring to the table is my curiosity. Working with Dun & Bradstreet for 8 years really taught me to be data-driven and inherently curious. And so that's what I really carry with me day to day. It leads to bigger problem solving because you are consistently asking questions that others may not want to or be afraid to or maybe not think of. So bringing that level of curiosity to the table to make sure that the solutions we're looking at fit for everybody. And continuously learning and asking questions and seeing what we all need to do together to maintain the special spirit that's Buena Vista.
Excuse me. Thank you. All right. So the next question, if you received a large grant, let's say $100,000, to use for our town, what would you do with it and why? We'll just go all the way down.
You know, as some of you know, 100,000 isn't a huge amount in a lot of our large projects that we have, but I feel like something like that would be great to go towards our Carbonate Street development, which is really centering around deed-restricted housing and affordable apartments as well as childcare. And I think that little bit of money would be great to install solar or something like that that would really offset the cost of utilities, given that the apartments are going to be all electric. So I think any way to help people, I think people think a lot about affordable housing as the cost of rent, and I think another way to look at it is the cost of utilities, which I think is a huge money on a lot of people.
I think we really only get one chance to grow well. Once things are built, they're in the right place or they're in the wrong place. I think if we had $100,000, I would advocate using it for planning purposes to look at where we need to replace water lines, where new water lines need to be expanded to serve coming development. And there's definitely a saying that the only thing more expensive than expensive planning is not planning. And so I think $100,000 would be a very wise use of money to continue our master planning efforts with respect to transportation, water infrastructure, and water rights.
So Governor Polis appointed me to the Outdoor Equity Fund for the state 3 years ago, and since then we've given out $10 million to rural communities. And so I know that the state and the federal government loves a matching grant. So I think I'd put that money towards partnering with the state and federal government on some issues we really need to solve, like childcare. We have about 14 spots for kids under 2 on this side of the county, which is a big problem for families who want to live and work here and grow here. And then broadband access. We really need to make sure that our students, that our families, that retired folks have access to the internet for their own education and health. And I think a broadband grant would be a really great way to use funds like that.
Well, no. Well, I work in tech, so maybe it's a hammer and nail thing. But if I had $100,000 that was unallocated, I'd want to get a result, a direct result, or a direct outcome out of that $100,000. I would use that to create a single one-place home for digital home for BV events, businesses, schedules, instead of having it diversified through several websites for both the people that live here and the people that are visiting here. I think it would drive economic growth, tax revenue, and have just kind of a sticky one-stop place for everything BV.
I think these are all really great ideas. I would also go to the board and talk to others and say, what do we have that's in the pipeline? What do we have that we've already worked on that could make a substantial difference in our community? A lot of the ideas have already been mentioned, but really looking back towards things that we have started to put into action, and could we make any headway with that? Could we make any real change? Like it was mentioned, $100,000 in the grand scheme of things is not a ton of money. So again, looking to make the most actionable impact, and seeing where we could find that in the pipeline that we've already heard from the community and businesses and everybody that's here, and what we can do to make it better.
Buena Vista, according to the Department of Education, is in a higher education desert. Means that there's no higher education opportunities within a commutable distance. If I had that $100,000, I would work with the trustees and obviously with the boards and commissions, but we'd reach out to the community and start to identify a process that we could bring in, either a 4-year or a 2-year. I'd prefer a 4-year, but I think because it's ideal for this location, but a 4-year education in Buena Vista that would allow our students in all and near abroad. The counties around the periphery are also in the same education desert. So we can keep our students home. We don't have to send them away. They can choose to stay at home. They can learn great skills. We can bring in the academic community in this process and create a satellite campus that would be provided to by one of the state colleges. So that would be a reach out to start that research, to start that process, to identify possible locations where we could put a facility like that in place. So my goal would be just to stop. It says stop. That's good, thank you.
You're lucky she didn't get the bell out. So if you're on a commission or a group already, especially Andrew and Devin, assume that we're asking you to be on something else with this question. If you were asked to be the liaison to town on one of the town's commissions or groups, which one would you pick and why?
One of my proposals is to create recreate the Economic Development Advisory Board. I think it's something that the Board of Trustees desperately needs, and they need that advice and assistance to help them. We've got a lot of great community groups out there, Chaffey County Economic Development Corporation, our Chamber of Commerce. They need to be part of that. But we need, as a former businessman and as a business person, we need that kind of advice and assistance so that we can bring our businesses here to Buena Vista, that we can grow the economy, we can find and create good paying jobs that people can afford, the housing in the process. And so if, I'm already on boards and commissions right now in the process, but if we were to do this, I think we would do that, and I would enjoy very much being part of a economic development board to create the ideal economy for the citizens and residents of Buena Vista.
I would be happy to be on any of the boards or commissions. I personally really enjoy the history of Buena Vista, so the Historical Preservation Committee is definitely where I have enjoyed a meeting or two. I know a lot of it, and I'd like to learn more of it. But I'm most curious about our airports. The Airport Advisory Board would be one that I would also like to learn more about. We have a unique airport with it being a blue sky airport. So I think that that's something that is really even more unique and special to our community. So I would happily join any of them, but those are the two that I think I'd be most excited about.
Well, I think the first thing that I could have the best impact on would be correspondence between the Board of Trustees and the Chamber of Commerce. Second, which is more of a passion-based thing, is the recreation. My wife here is recently appointed to the rec board, but we both really enjoy all of the activities and everything that the town has to offer.
I have a degree in environmental science and policy from UC Berkeley, and so I like the idea of the trees board. I also know that's been a real big question for folks in town, given SCCEA's recent conversations about clearing trees. And the recreation board, I think, would be great. I think we all live here because we love being outside, but this is not a really walkable or bikeable community, especially for children. So that's something I'd like to work on improving as a liaison from the trustees.
And I think your question was not to talk about the board that we're currently on. Okay, yep. So if I wasn't liaison to the water advisory board, it's a no-brainer. I would love to be on the airport advisory board. And if I had the time, I'd volunteer to do it. I just harbor a secret dream of learning to fly one day, and I think hanging out around the airport would be really cool.
I agree with you, Andrew. I want to be on the airport board. I've always wanted to fly around the valley here. I'm currently on the rec board in the Upper Arkansas Area Council of Governments as the representative there. But, I think the airport, and I'd also like to learn a lot more about water. I've been a liaison to the rec board the entire time I've been on the board, which is great, and I've seen it grow a ton. But I think there is something to be said to rotate around and maybe check out some other advisory boards, because I feel like it's comfortable to be on the same advisory board forever, but it'd be interesting to check out some other boards and move around as timing works out. I appreciate when Trustee Jenkins would fill in for me when I couldn't go to the rec board. I think that was a good little mix.
Congratulations, candidates. You have survived the lightning round of questions. So now we're going to move to media questions. And just like I let the candidates pick where they were going to sit based on the order that they came here, I'm going to let the media go in the order that they confirmed that they would be here. So Hannah's going to go first. Hannah, tell Mary Helen how much time each candidate gets to respond.
I say we give them like a minute. That's good. Won't be hard. So thank you for all being here, and also thank you for responding to the questions I have already sent you. So we'll start. Yeah, we'll go with this one. How would you react to someone, being a trustee is a very public position, how would you react to someone coming to you and confronting you about a vote the trustees have made? If you are an incumbent, please feel free to cite precedent.
I'll go first. It's something that definitely happens to me a lot with friends and people who know me in town. I always, take feedback very well, and I really also encourage citizens to come to the meetings and participate. I think that's a huge help to us when people come for public comment, and to realize that me, myself, I'm only 1/6 of the board. So it's important to, voice your concerns and your ideas to the whole board as a whole, either in person, online, or by sending us an email.
I like Devin's answer. No, man, I think I think it is our role to hear from the public when there's a decision that is disagreed with. That has happened once in my short tenure as a board member, and I just encourage, that's great, but I'm not the only one who needs to hear it. Come to public comment. We can't just live in a vacuum. So we really rely on public involvement. And then if it's a real grouchy person, it's like, you should sit up here and run for office. It's easy to complain. It's a little hard to get in the game.
I served on city council in Edgewater during COVID, and we had to make some really, really difficult decisions about community health, about renters, how to support a lot of people during really hard times. And so this is not a new idea to me, but generally there are a few principles I try to live by as an elected official or an appointed board member, and that it's, we don't need to know everything, but we need to be clear about what the values are that we're leaning on when we make decisions. I think for me, those values are, how is this decision going to play out for small businesses, for the environment, and for working families? And I think if I'm really honest about those and welcoming to hear folks from where they're coming at, on their values and experience, I've never had an issue finding middle ground. But generally, I think we need to be honest about what we know and what we don't know, and be ready to hear different perspectives on those issues.
Hi. When I picture myself in that scenario, I think the role would be to listen as a servant of the community. If the Board of Trustees is, in my perspective, is there to serve that community and the people that live in town. So listen, ask questions, like follow-up questions about their thoughts and their perspectives, and try to take those into account and communicate those to my fellow board members, and as well as maybe if there's something that we could share, I could share with them the perspectives that we talked about in a specific meeting or research that I've done. But basically, listening to your community members.
It genuinely, that's it, right? If there's a confrontation to be had, it's to stop and listen, de-escalate if need be, rely on training that I had done for years if it's needed, but hope that it's not. And really just stop and take a minute to understand why they feel the need to confront and have a conversation about it. So really lean in and listen and pay attention, and again, reiterate what has been said, is invite them to the meetings. This is a place for all of us to have a voice, and so it's important to get it not just to one board member, but to all of them. So, yeah.
Too often, I think we often hear people speak. We don't really listen to them. And I think as a Board of Trustee member, the goal here would be is to listen to what people have to say, but also not just listen, be responsive. Obviously, what the others have said, they can come speak at a board meeting, those types of things, a trustees meeting. We have to listen to people and we have to respond to them. If they just express their views and we look blankly at them and say, come to the next meeting, I don't think that's effective. I think then if you can guide that person to town staff or to another venue that may be assistant, help them resolve the problem. And also, we need to incorporate those ideas into future plans, programs, and procedures, because everybody has good ideas in the community. So if we listen to people, hear them and listen to them and respond to them, I think we would be much more effective as a Board of Trustees as we move forward in the future.
Tom, you can keep the microphone, Dan.
Dan.
Oh, sure. Why not? Given the my way or the highway politics of today, I'm interested in knowing your feeling on the word compromise.
Compromise is essential to everything we do here. It's going to be part of being a member of 6 trustees with a mayor. You can't get your own views all the time, and you must be able to compromise to accomplish anything. And so everybody has an idea. We all have input. We need to do the research. We need to take the information from town staff. We need to make informed decisions. We need to take input from the community that leads us to a more informed compromise to make sure that we're supporting the needs and interests of the citizens of Buena Vista, not necessarily outside players. A lot of plays out here with Chaffee County and the state and the federal government. But compromise is an important component to us as we make informed decisions and then adjust those decisions as necessary to best accomplish the policies or legislative goals of the Board of Trustees.
Yeah, compromise is one of my favorite words. It's so important because it brings that aspect of community more so together. If we're not willing to compromise, then it must be something that's really, really important. And hopefully people are just listening and hearing both to both sides of the table. Compromise is crucial. If we don't, then we're lost. And if it's my way or the highway, then everybody goes their own way and everything is lost. So compromise is crucial and exciting because it allows us to have bigger ideas and better ideas. So it's one of my favorite words.
Hi. So when I think of compromise, it's it allows us to move forward. If not, you're just kind of spinning around. Kind of one of the things in product development that we'd hear a lot is like, I want it awesome, fast, and cheap. Well, that doesn't work like that. But you can, if you can figure out where you can make adjustments, and then both to move the product forward or to move an initiative forward, so we can get a result.
Compromise is lovely. I think it's why it's so great to live in a democracy, because we have a voice and a vote, and those things get tallied and measured, and they matter. I do think, though, that I have really strong values, and some things can't be compromised on, and it's okay to vote no or say something when you see something bad happening. So I think leaning on the power of convictions is really important part of our democratic process, and there are some things that can't be compromised on, like civil rights, anti-LGBTQ policies. There's no in-between on racism, you know? So I think about where we can compromise and where we can't, and if we can't compromise, I would just feel comfortable voting no, and I think that's okay.
When I think of compromise, this is going to be an odd answer, but if you buy all-terrain tires that are snow rated, that's a compromise. They don't function very well they don't function as perfectly as dedicated snow tires, and they don't function as good as dedicated all-terrain tires, but they're good enough, you know, and sometimes you've got to let good enough be good enough. And digging in your heels without compromising, you know, is really not a way to collaborate and work together. So I think compromise is a very important thing to remember. It's not perfect, and we got to move on.
Yeah, I think, you know, I've lived a lot of my life, and I've worked a lot of different jobs working with compromise, and it's something that I always say to someone who works with me. I'm like, if you have a problem or we have a different disagreement, I think it's really important to talk to me about it, because I can't figure it out, or if you're upset at me, then I don't know where to go from there. I think another thing that I've learned being on the board is to really not push your own agenda, but it's something that I got as a recommendation when I first came on the board, is to not come here being like, I'm going to change this and fix that and do this. I think it's more important to really grow in a positive direction and to work together with the board. I don't always agree with the other members, and sometimes I vote different, but I think it's really important to move forward with the direction of the board once the decision is made.
Thanks, Evan. Jan?
Okay, there's a mic over here somewhere. Thank you very much. Well, those were good setups, I guess, for the question that I've got for all of you, and thanks a lot for fulfilling this role in democracy and running. It's really important what you're doing, each one of you here. So here's the question. Many people across this country are saying that we've never been more divided, at least since the Civil War. On a local level, though, we have to get things done. We just talked about your definitions of compromise and what that means. But working together as a community might be more than compromise. Talk about what your opinion is of what's the cause of the divisions we're all seeing outside our community. And if you have a role as a trustee, what active steps can you do down here at the local level to heal the divide?
How am I going to save America? I think, you know, a lot of people ask me about, you know, my politics and me running on the board. I think the most important thing is that on the local level, that we're all the same, and that we're all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to, you know, work our jobs, make a living, you know, figure out our life. And I think there's not a lot of division in those kinds of topics once you get down to the roots here. And I think that's the most important thing when people try to sow, you know, large American divisions here, is that on the local level, we're all just trying to figure it out and survive. And I think that's the important thing to focus on.
Do I understand the question is what's wrong with the world and how do we save it?
No, it's what you as a trustee will do to help heal divisions should they occur or if they're here.
Oh. I think there are definitely divisions. I think one of the things that kind of exacerbates them is we have a culture that speaks first and listening optional. And I think a bit of our social media and other avenues really exacerbate the rush to speak and not a rush to listen. So I think as a trustee, my job is to listen. And then the other thing I think is wrong, there's the idea to love your neighbor as yourself. To put yourself in someone else's shoes and try to listen and empathize with them. I think those are two things, to listen and to love your neighbor as yourself.
I think America is incredibly divided because a lot of people are scared. There's a lot of economic, environmental things happening that are terrifying people, and we're all trying to figure out how to make sure our children can grow up safely, our families are fed, and we have food to put on the table. And I think that brings out the worst in people sometimes, but also the best. And I think part of what is beautiful about living in a small town is getting to connect with people where they're at and creating a culture where we aren't so afraid to make mistakes and ask questions of each other. I'm a young Jewish mother. My son in the kitchen we might be the only 2 Jews in Buena Vista, I'm not sure. And I have a lot of friends who grew up here, never meeting a Jew, always going to church, and we built some beautiful relationships just on saying, what's that like? And I think that's a really important question to ask is, what's your life like? And then listening when people tell you.
So that's so weird to talk about national things in this hyper-local environment. But first, I think the divide in the country is that is publicized, it's over-publicized, and mostly media and corporations capitalizing on your fear to make money for their own pocket. I don't really see that in my day-to-day life as much as, and you don't really, my friends are my friends. I don't really care that much and always treat people and their opinions. Those are separate things. An opinion is just a thought, but that thought or opinion does not make up a holistic person. They're who they are. They're just like the people up here on this board.
It is, yeah, the country is definitely more divided now than it has been ever from what I've read and heard and know. Fear, yep, the amount of information that's available at our fingertips and the process of how to filter it is not always being taught, and so we don't always know how to find what's useful and what's just there. So it just leads to an overwhelming feeling of anxiety and fear and division. I think at a very local level, it's just encouraging us to come together, spend time doing things that we all enjoy. Like Andrew said, loving your neighbor as yourself, that's amazing. And giving the people the benefit of the doubt. Everybody has bad days. Sometimes that comes across as a division, but really what it is somebody just needs to sit down and talk and have an afternoon and sit on the porch and think through it. So really just being focused with our community and what we do enjoy and living in those moments.
I think the problem that we have to deal with is there's openness and transparency where people get confused with respect to what we're doing as a government or what we're doing as a local government. And sometimes people think that the system's against them or the government's against them, and that's actually incorrect. And the people that are here today and the people that will be voting for Buena Vista for the election, I think they understand that, and I think we do across the country more than what we see in the national media. But as a trustee, I think to resolve some of those concerns that are going to arise, and you're exactly right, these concerns are going to arise and we're going to have to deal with them. We have to be open, we have to be transparent, we have to be fair, and ensure that we're meeting those expectations. The community at large will then respect that. You'll have some people who'll be upset and they'll be engaged. Again, that goes back to listening and hearing and what we were talking about earlier. So I think we're more united than we think we are, and I look at things on a little more positive side in the glass half full versus the glass half empty. And I think this is what we're doing right now. It says stop. So I stop.
So Hannah, Dan, and Jan, thank you so much for the thoughtful questions. And candidates, again, congratulations on passing the media questions. All right, so I wanted to ask one final question before, and then we'll have, I'll let you know about voting and what's on the ballot for BV, and then we'll move to the meet and greet. So my last question, candidates, 45 seconds. You, each. You know what, maybe I should do that next time, give them a team activity. All right, let's say you win a seat as a trustee. If you could only have one win while being in this next term, let's say getting one thing done that you really wanted to accomplish, what would that be and why? Tom, I'm gonna start with you, 45 seconds.
Increase our fees on the short-term rentals and apply that to long-term housing and affordable housing. Increase our fees at least comparable to the level that Salida does, so that we can turn that money immediately into affordable housing, into daycare, into down payment assistance, and make this town, help this town move forward now and not wait 2 or 3 years for the state or the federal or the housing authority to magically come up, or a tax for that matter, come up with this process. So I would push that as expediently as possible.
Yeah, I think the biggest win that I could ever ask for would be a genuine, true movement on attainable housing. Again, looking at things that we could do to add towards that bucket, things like changing town fee schedules, looking at where we can move and reallocate, but having a genuine movement for attainable housing for our area, for everybody that lives here. So that would be the biggest win. I'd be just as happy with looking at, like Tom mentioned, the short-term rental taxes and fees and regulations to be able to help grow those buckets a little bit more.
For me, it would be maintaining and improving and building a robust water infrastructure, including improving the things we have and making sure that they're future friendly for our town and our community going out like 25, 50, 100 years. As well as I think we need to immediately work at procuring new water rights, resources, wells, et cetera, whatever avenues we can to procure water.
What they said, a dedicated funding stream for the Housing Authority, which is already doing an amazing job trying to create programs to support long-term renting, retirement housing, things like that, but they need funding long-term, and we don't have that solution as a county. And then figuring out how to get more water rights to support the development we need to build that kind of housing in this community.
If we could abolish daylight savings, I would have considered a success. No, yeah, get back to reality, buddy. I share this answer with a couple of groups. The thing that I would consider a success is to our current board, and I said maybe low expectations are the key to life, but my expectations were completely blown away with the way the current board interacts with one another, discusses issues. There's a diversity of opinions, but it is incredibly respectful. If I can play a part in preserving that culture with the next board for the sake of my enjoyment and for the ability to retain our staff, that would be a big win for me.
Yeah, I'm going to echo retaining our amazing staff. We have an incredible town staff. I don't know if you guys know that, but we have an amazing staff, and they work so hard for our town. And I think really continuing to take their insight and their knowledge, there's probably hundreds of years of knowledge on our staff that really help us as a board really build and grow in a positive direction. I had a completely different answer at the beginning, but that's what I changed to. So daylight savings.
All right, thank you. So speaking of great staff, we have Paula Barnett here, And I'm going to read you. And I'm going to read to you about voting, and if I don't get it right, she will make sure to correct me. So our municipal election is April 2nd. 3 trustees, one of these 3, or 3 of these, will get a 4-year term that expires in 2028. So whoever gets the 3 highest votes. The 4th highest number of votes will fill a vacancy that ends in 26? Okay, woohoo! So please drop your ballots by town hall if you haven't already done so. They need to get an affidavit that you are you with your signature. The next best thing would be drop it into the water bill box if you can't make town hours. Let's see. Ballots are mailed on March 11, on Monday. They have to be dropped off by 7 p.m. at Town Hall. I would suggest you not mail them. I'm familiar with the post office. And if you need any election information, the video from tonight will be on the League of Women Voters website, and the data is on the town website as well as the town's Facebook page. So Paula, thank you for all the hard work you're doing for this election. So let's talk about what's on the ballot in addition to picking the hard choice of who will be the 4 that are elected. There are 2 other ballot initiatives. The first is to move the election from the first Tuesday in April of every election cycle to the first Monday in November. First Tuesday. Wait, what? First Tuesday in November. Okay, sorry, I did write Monday. It'll also extend the current trustees and the mayor's term from April of 24 to November of 26, and extend the new trustees from April of 24 to November of 2028. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. If you have questions, see Paula. Okay, so anything else? Would I miss?
Well, the table wants some clarification on the terms.
Okay, go.
So what will happen, the board of trustees. All right. So if the ballot question passes, the terms will change to where the trustees that are elected currently, so they'll be elected in April of 2024, their terms will go till November of 2028. If it's a 4-year term, November of 2026. If it's not. The current 2 trustees who are not up for election, Cindy and Gina, as well as Mayor Fay, their terms are going to extend from April of 2026 to November of 2026. So the terms extend to marry up with the election dates.
Thank you. I should have just had her do that in the first place. Okay, so we are wrapping up. And so in conclusion, I just want to thank all the candidates for being here, for the work that you've already done, and for the work I know you'll do to make sure you do a great job when you're elected. Also for filling out the Vote 411 information. The website for vote411.org went live today, thanks to Scott, wherever Scott is, over there. Also, I want to thank the moderators. So moderators, raise your hand. We have 6 rock star moderators. The great timers, the Marys, and the media. Thank you, Jan, Dan, and Hannah. And for all of us for participating. Thank you very much. Oh, thanks. All right.
Grace, real quick, Mary Jo Bennett also wanted me to bring up, there's a second ballot question.
Yes.
So just a little FYI, there is a second ballot question, and that relates to the publication of ordinances. Currently, the town is required to publicize the ordinance in its entirety. We are asking the voters to consider publishing it just by title only. Then if somebody wants to have the full documented printed out, they can come by town hall. We can give that to them as well as it's on the website.
For free.
For free. Yep.
Thank you. All right, so we are done, complete, fini. So thank you all for coming. And so now we'll move to the informal part where we just stand around and schmooze, get all your other questions answered. And thank you all for coming.